Welcome to Project CB. This is a beautiful experience for us. Tonight, it's the launch of a new menu right here at Moyo. So we're not only going to be eating the most delicious, scrumptious food from the best of the best, but we're going to be catching up with people that work at Moyo, how they found working at Moyo, how long they've been at Moyo, and what has been their most exciting experience. So join us as we take a ride on Project CB.
In Africa, we do this to call people and to show them there is something happening here.
Hey, Carlette,
Hey, Lindy.
can you play the drum?
You know what? I don't think so. Is there someone that we can ask?
There is Brighton, but let's try. Come, do something.
Brighton!
I'm here. Let me rescue you. Thank you.
Okay, shoo. Carlette's drumming. Woo, we had to get a professional. Brighton, good evening and welcome to Project CB.
Thank you. Welcome. Good evening, everyone.
So tell us, where is Brighton from?
Brighton from Zimbabwe, Blawayo, actually from Ndebele tribe. So that's why I'm good at drumming.
Oh,
My ancestors, actually, I'm carrying my ancestors thing which they used to do when they're drumming to call people if they've got like functions or weddings or just to celebrate. So they used to drum and call people to come and gather.
okay. So let's hang five. So tell us about Brighton. How long have you been here at Moyo?
At Moyo, it's about, I'm a legend here at Moyo. About 10 years, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, it's been a wonderful journey until today. Still learning a lot of things and enjoying what I'm doing at the moment.
So why is Moyo so special? Why have you decided to stay for such a long time?
Moyo actually is very special because it's the art of African. You get the experience of African different cultures. As you know, Africa, we talk of one continent. Due to geographical climates, we drifted apart, but we still carry on in it Moyo to experience different cultures of Moyo with different people.
Okay.
As you see in our menu, we've got things like food from Morocco, which is Northern African. We've got things like Southern African food as well. We've got wild game as well in our menu, which was being eaten by all African people when they were hunters and gatherers.
Okay. So do you miss home?
I do actually, but the thing which keeps me hanging, I still experience my culture in here as well. I still carry on with the basic of Ndebele tribes. So yeah, I do miss it, but I'm still at home as well.
This is Brighton Moyo right here at Moyo. Oh, your surname is Moyo?
I'm Pofu.
Oh, there you go. Brighton Mpofu, right here at Moyo.
Actually, in my culture, actually, the word Moyo means solo heart. So you find it is in all continents of Africa. You find Moyo they've got related surnames, which means different things, but almost the same thing. So we carry our souls and our heart as well.
We're looking forward to tonight. Stay tuned.
all the people involved in that, they have created a system that works. So in all
Wow, wow, wow. I am so excited. I'm catching up with the real deal, with the chef himself. This is Project CB. You best tag along. Welcome to Project CB.
Thank you very much.
So, chef, tell us who you are and where you come from.
So I'm Martin Van der Walt and I'm from South Africa. I was born in Joburg.
But you've got a distinct European accent.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough that I went abroad from the age of 20. So I spent 20 years there and 20 years here. So back in South Africa now, which is very exciting.
So the bug of cooking, where does it come from?
So I was very fortunate. I fell in love with food because of my grandmother. So my entire childhood was basically around the kitchen and preparing food and jams and preserves with my grandmother. So yeah, that's from that day on. I was just from a very young age. It's always been food and food and food and food and kitchen. And like the whole family, we're very fortunate. Like our whole family core was the kitchen. So whenever there was a family meeting or a chat, or you brought your best friend over, your first girlfriend, it was always in the kitchen. You know, so that's where my love and my comfort zone has always been. It's been in the kitchen.
So who would you say is your inspiration?
Sure. In terms of food, I don't think you can say the chefs that are like these social people, but really, honestly, I really like the food that's made in the townships or in rural areas, or like in Europe in the villages and teams. And like there'll be this old lady, and she's 76 years old, and she makes one plate of food or one dish for the whole day. And that's amazing. And for me, that the dedication and the focus on just making that one plate of food, and everyone comes there to eat and they love it. That's what for me is inspiring. That's what I look up to.
Okay, so in the kitchen, everybody talks about innovation, everybody talks about herbs and this and that and revolutionary this and that. What is the essence for you? Because you just mentioned now homemade, kind of like being authentic to your roots, you know, going back to your roots. What drives you? What drives you in your kitchen?
So essentially, I think for Moyo at Melrose Arch, what we've done, we've decided to go back to basics. We decided to go down to authentic food, you know. And because of Moyo, the way that we serve our food mostly is communal. So everyone gets to share the food and they can talk about it. And I think that's what we really, really trying to emphasize on, is that we want you to come here, have an experience, and leave and feel like, wow, you know, I really enjoyed my evening. And that experience stays with you. You know? So the whole food and everything else around is about authentic, basic, simple, honest food. You know, and obviously we do have a little bit of the chef's side condiments, which is a little bit more extra. So basically it's like Moroccan beetroot or like goat's cheese with juniper berries mixed with strawberries. So there's something there for those people who really want to have something a bit more of their experience. But those people who just want to have a springbok shank, they can have a really good springbok shank.
Okay, let's take a step back memory lane. Where did the journey of becoming a chef start? Besides you know, messing around with your mother's flour and ingredients in the kitchen and the granny, where does it start from you, like from a professional point of view?
Okay, so from South Africa I went to Israel and I got a job on private yachts. So basically I got to cook for various families for 1 week at a time, because that was the contract time. So basically I got introduced to different people, different diets, different interests, what they like, what they don't like. That's where we really started, and that gave me a really strong base. I then went to England and I worked at Harvey's Cafe, and I worked under a head chef there who taught me a lot and refined my skill a bit more. And then I came back to South Africa and worked at Spear, which brought me back to the basic of where South Africa was. And then from there I went, I did the first food and wine pairing actually. Was at Spear Wine Estate, Cafe Spear, and there were 4 chefs that came from Belgium, and we did with Base Tutor, and they did a whole menu, and I assisted them in the kitchen, and they were so impressed that they basically asked me to go back with them. So basically Spear sent me back, and I basically studied under all of them, and I ended up with Patrick de Vos, the 3-star. I worked with him, and that really got me down to the final details. But through all of that, all those chefs, they all believed in really simple, basic. The more simple it is, the more basic it is, the harder it is to get that flavor. You know, you can't hide it with anything. It's got to be what it is. And I think that's what I took back with me when I left. And then I came back to South Africa and I went to Singapore, and I opened up an African restaurant there. And the idea was to present the import of South African produce in Singapore. So we derived a menu that basically exhibited all the products that South Africa could offer. And it was really, really interesting because then basically you got the whole Asian influence going on. But we did only African food. And it did really, really well. It was very successful. And then we did a South African version, which is more like a Joburg, Cape Town kind of vibe in Singapore as well. Yeah, so it was quite interesting. Yeah.
So tonight, what can we expect?
Tonight we can expect that basically that there's a range of starters with many different flavors. There's crocodile, there's carpaccios, mapani worms, and then the main courses we have got a kudu skewer, which we're going to be cooking on the fire, and going with that is the guinea fowl, served with harissa honey. So the harissa honey is there for a bit of a punch, for a bit of a spike, a bit of spice. And then we get down to the real earthy food. So we got a springbok shank in a pie. So what we want to do, the experience is that you pull out the bone, out the pie, and all the meat falls behind. And that's like an experience on its own. And then we got a very nice venison stew with pomegranate molasses and pomegranates and root veg. So it's really earthy, but a bit different, with a bit of sweetness, a bit of sourness. Is very nice. And then we're ending off the evening with double cut venison chops, which are done on the fire with zebra loin. Yeah.
I'm drooling. I can't wait to have this evening started. I think I better let the chef go so that he can start preparing my venison. Dramatic.